Thank you so much. My God, that the picture that you have there still has my hair. Like my hair gets, one of the things that I did when I became an entrepreneur is I lost my hair. That's one of the classic results of this, unfortunately. But first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I come on behalf also of the general director of the Impact Hub Network, Gabriela Gander, who unfortunately could not be here today. She was scheduled to speak, so forgive the three-male lineup here. It's just not it's not on usually, but today unfortunately this had to happen. But again, I'm a little bit emotional because of course speaking in the presence of Professor Yunus and in the presence of all of you is a big deal for me. It's a big deal because when I read Professor Yunus' books 15 years ago, that what started my journey in social business and in social entrepreneurship. And so really, you know, when you talk about having an impact, that was the result of that book, was really me thinking, hold on a second, there is another way of doing things that is much smarter than what we've been doing so far. And so this is where the journeys start. Every journey starts with a step. Every journey starts with an idea. Every journey starts with a bit of passion. And these things definitely came together in me about 15 years ago. When I walked into the first hub that was born in London in 2005, and I walked in late 2006, so not much after. And I thought, this is what the world needs. It needs more places like this where people can come together. They can collaborate. They can have ideas, and someone can tell them, that's a terrible idea, don't do that. But most people will tell them, why don't you try it out? Because this could really change the world. And guess what? For me, the extraordinary aspect of this story is that about 13 years later, 14 almost, I'm still here. It's a testament to the fact that is just when something kind of roots inside you, it's really hard to think of work as a career, you know? I think of some of my friends that are kind of like more working in the traditional sectors, and I think of our sector instead, and I think of the passion that drives us. And people say, like, I've been doing the same job for 14 years. And I say, of course I've not been doing the same job for 14 years, but I've been within the same system because I love this system, because I become passionate about it, and because it's making the world a better place. And I think this is where we have to tap into for the future economy. We have to start tapping into the passion. By the way, I'm Italian. I don't know if the name had told you anything, but yeah, so I do tend to be a little bit more passionate maybe sometimes than other people are, but I think that this is a human trait. It's not nothing that has a nationality or a label or gender. People are passionate, and when they're passionate about something and they can actually manifest themselves in their job, it becomes an incredibly rewarding moment. As I was saying, 14 years on, I'm still here, but there's 100 hubs around us, including in Dhaka today where you're sitting, and it's such a pleasure to know that the Impact Hub now is in Bangladesh. And not just in Bangladesh, but connected to the Yunus family. So we're kind of cousins now. And you know, in Italian families, it's all like, we get all very excited. The reality is that, of course, we've grown a lot in these last few years. We have grown not just geographically, making us in a way the largest social enterprise in the world, which is kind of like a funny thing to think about. Largest not in the sense of maybe the people that we reach. We have almost 17,000 members globally. But certainly in terms of geographic spread, there's no other social enterprise or social business that identifies as such that has this kind of reach. And we're also, I think, becoming much more experts and much more reflective on the needs of the different societies around the world. So if I think of, for example, the work that my friend Tatiana is doing in Amsterdam and circularity, for example, we talk about the need to transform economies from this wasteful, constant outpouring of resources that is just going to destroy the planet and us in the process, by the way. And instead we think back at the circularity models, and we think we need to go forward, but in this sense we have to look back sometimes at how circularity was embedded into the very structures of everyday living in not that long ago. Because I remember when I was a kid, for example, I'll show you this thing. This is Parmesan cheese, okay? I don't know, Parmesan cheese, for those of you who maybe in Bangladesh is not very common, but in Italy, it's like every household will put it on pasta. You can't eat pasta without having Parmesan cheese on it. This just to give you a sense of it. So every household has a piece of Parmesan, and every piece of Parmesan sooner or later ends and leaves a crust. This crust would be boiled by mothers in Italy and then given to children, to babies, for teething purposes. And I think this is a really important story here, because today we have all these plastic things that my children had to have. And I was like, why are we doing all this stuff? We can just boil Parmesan crusts and give them to them. This is a bit also circularity, is in the mind frame of how we think about everyday living. But it's also, of course, in the reinventing business models that are sustainable today. And I think there is another element, I think, in the looking back paradigm that is very important to take into account. We need to look back at history so that we do not repeat history. Now, of course, we are human and we have a tendency not to be particularly good at learning from history. But unfortunately, I'm a trained historian. And so that's one of the things that I drag with me all the time. The sense of deep injustice that has permeated the entire human history is staggering. I think if we look at the future and the future economy, and we say that the future economy starts here, the new economy starts here, the two aspects of breaking down those injustices and bringing equality, true equality between people around the world, between genders, between races, everything, and then environmental sustainability, these two, the just recovery, if you like, and the just and green recovery, has to become the mantra that we all follow constantly. If we don't create businesses, whichever kind of business, that doesn't have these two elements enshrined, that doesn't become essentially the social business by nature, then we're not doing a job that the world needs today. And so it is with these very few words that I wanted to leave you. It's just a hello from the Impact Hub Network that I wanted to bring to you. Thank you once again. There are 100 hubs out there that are waiting for you whenever you are able to visit them. We are your hosts and you are our guests every time. Thank you again for your attention.